Welcome back, y'all. I have been traveling for the last month, but I am back home. I've got a bunch of content planned that I'm going to be pushing out over the next couple weeks. In this video specifically, I want to talk about my experience at Consensus and really talk about some of the DePIN projects that were there, as well as the sentiment around DePIN in general and where I think some of these projects could go in this upcoming market cycle. Some of the projects I've covered in prior videos. I'm going to do some quick updates on those. There are also some new projects on my radar that haven't yet launched their token, and I plan to put out more in-depth videos on those moving forward. Before I get started, I have to remind you that nothing in this video is financial advice. This is for your entertainment purposes only. So as far as DePIN goes, there is a lot of interest, both at main events at Consensus, but there are also a lot of breakoff sessions, happy hours and lunches that were very well attended. And in speaking to some of the people at those events, there's a lot of interest from some pretty large investment arms in the DePIN space for this upcoming market cycle. And it seemed that a lot of them were trying to figure out where they want to put their capital. I want to break down some of the projects in particular, give you my thoughts on those, starting with Demo. So Demo is a project that I did a deep dive on in the past on my channel, and it's also one that I've built out a pretty substantial fleet. I have over 200 vehicles in my fleet today. So they had a lot of exposure at main events, at Consensus, but also were highlighted in a lot of the breakout sessions. I had a chance to sit down with a couple of their founders. I'm actually planning on getting one on in the next week or two to do an interview. But from a high level point of view, this allows you to access your vehicle's telematics data. So that's a combination of your diagnostic data as well as driving patterns, and you can monetize it in different ways and earn Demo rewards in return. And as you can see here, they now have over 92,000 vehicles connected. They're expecting that to get to 100,000 by August, and their goal is by the end of 2025 to be up to 1 million vehicles connected. The things that are most exciting to me, though, is that in their town hall just yesterday, they said that they have 5 new applications coming online that will allow users to leverage their data in different ways, will allow you to earn more Demo rewards. They're also updating the way that their token interacts with revenue to bring everything on chain and have a burn mechanism in place. I have to say this telematics data is incredibly valuable. Looking forward, it's expected to be one of the biggest revenue streams for different vehicle manufacturers. So being able to take ownership of your own data and monetize it in different ways, all being tied to the Demo token, I think there's massive potential here. If you look at where we are right now with the price of Demo, it's come down quite a bit. I mean, we got all the way up to 60 cents. There is a pretty low supply. There's 1 billion Demo tokens in total, and there's not any massive dilution coming up. I run most of my price modeling for midway to the end of 2025 based on historical market cycles. I do think this has the potential to get as high as a couple dollars per Demo token. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility at all to see a 10 to 15x with upside for more, depending on how many vehicles are added and how much this ecosystem evolves. One of the best things about this project is completely passive. You literally just plug a device into your vehicle. If you have a vehicle with a software connection, you can actually connect for free. So something that obviously I have a lot of exposure to, but I'm very excited about it moving forward. And they have an amazing team that I believe can execute. So the next project is Geonet. I also did a deep dive video on this project. Essentially, they are building out a decentralized network that taps into what's called RTK, or real-time kinematics technology. And the way it works is by tapping into this network, you can get very precise location data down to 1 to 2 centimeter level accuracy. By using GNSS or global satellite systems, you can generally only get within a couple of meters of accuracy. So this is huge for autonomous vehicles. Farmers are using a lot more autonomous farming equipment, as well as drone services. So one of the things I want to point out here is it is completely deflationary, and you can see number 17 here. This is the burn wallet. So to date, they burned 5.79 million tokens, over 0.5% of the total supply. That number is only going to continue growing as more revenue comes into the project. And I did have a chance to sit down with their founder, and we had a pretty good conversation. I am very bullish on this project. If you look at the price action right now, it's down about 50% from its all-time high. It got up to about 33 cents. We're down at 17 cents right now. It hasn't hit any major exchanges yet. So I do think the future is very bright here. Now, you'll notice here the circulating supply is pretty low. Only 14.64% of the tokens are circulating. But with the way the tokenomics work, your mint schedule is going to take 15, 20 years don't have to worry about any massive dilution. But at currently sitting at a $25 million market cap, I think, in the midst of a bull run, we could see this thing 10 to 20x very easily with upside for a lot more. I do have a substantial position in this project. All right, let's talk about Hivemapper. So Hivemapper didn't have any sessions at Consensus. Their CEO, Ariel, did get out there, and I had a chance to sit down with him. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. I have some videos I'm going to put out about Hivemapper and some of the recent changes that have taken place. Obviously, we've seen rewards drop off pretty significantly. I think they've gotten a little bit too aggressive with some of their recent MIPs. That said, I mean, the way that their tokenomics work, they can make adjustments to correct that. I hope that happens. But look, I mean, 22% of the world's roads have been mapped in about 18 months. There has been some conversation in Discord that they have some pretty big clients that are using this data now. And we think about, in the midst of a bull run, and with DePIN, I think is going to be one of the leading narratives. If they do execute moving forward and this new B model gets into full production and they do have some, notable companies buying the data and using this network, people coming in are going to be looking at DePIN projects to invest in. And if they see, a decentralized Google Maps that has real customers buying the data, I could see this thing pump. Now, I will say, where are we sitting at 6 cents right now? We did get up to, 33, 34 cents at one point. It does have a large token supply. And this is something that, people need to realize. There's a total of 20% of the tokens that are going to investors that will be fully vested by the end of this year. And the employees, there's another 20%. That's 4 billion tokens total that's going to be distributed to investors and employees by the end of 2025. So, that's something you have to take into consideration when you're looking at potential price targets. I do think it's possible in a bull run, given some of the headwinds that they have. I definitely think we could see this thing 10x. I mean, get into the 60-cent range. Potentially upside for more, but I do think that they need to make some adjustments in how they're incorporating some of these MIPs, especially some of the recent changes. Okay, Teleport, I put out a video on this right before I went to Consensus, and this is a decentralized rideshare protocol. Their whole thing is, giving better pay to drivers and giving, more attractive fares to riders. And the timing is perfect. I mean, Uber and Lyft, since going public, have really screwed their drivers. The drivers are getting a smaller and smaller percentage of the fare, and and riders are paying more and more. And I used Teleport quite a bit when I was out in Austin for Consensus. The app does work, and the drivers, that I talked to were super excited about the prospect of it. It is difficult because it's a two-way marketplace, so they need to find that perfect balance of drivers and riders, and I think it's going to take a little bit of time to get that all worked out. But, it is launched in Austin today. I expect that they will expand into some new markets soon. The way it works is as you ride, you accumulate points that you can use to redeem NFTs, and those can be bought and sold in the open marketplace. They have not announced a token launch at this point, but I would imagine that they will at some point down the road. I don't know if the NFTs will be tied to that in any way, shape, or form, but we've seen it with other projects. I would not at all be surprised. And I did have a chance to sit down with their team as well. So this is definitely one that I'm going to have on my radar moving forward. Exhibits. This is one that I have not covered in the past. And they did have a presence at a few of the different breakout sessions that were DePIN specific sessions. And I did have a chance to talk to their team. There are a lot of projects that are popping up right now with this whole decentralized GPU aggregation concept. That said, a lot of those are focused on individual GPU owners and gamers, for example. That's fine for certain use cases if you're a student and you need to access, one GPU or something. But, the problem is when you're sourcing singular GPUs from different individuals, you have bandwidth issues, and they're all in different geographical locations. And Exhibits is doing it a little bit differently. They're going after independent data servers. So this could be a business that's built out their own, server on site where they have a number of GPUs. This is a really important differentiator because a lot of them have, NVIDIA H100s and A100s, and they have better infrastructure, internet connections, for example. And having multiple GPUs in one site, that really opens up a lot more possibilities, for training and inferencing more complex AI models. And they have partnered with a couple of other bigger projects in the space. They haven't launched their token yet. That's expected to come probably late Q3 into Q4. Definitely one that's going to be on my radar. I plan on putting out a video on this project, but I am excited to see where that one goes. Peaq Network. Peaq had their own break-off lunch session, It was probably the most well-attended session that I went to. It was like one in, one out for a while. And it is a layer one blockchain that is focused on DePIN projects specifically. So if you are developing a DePIN project, this is the blockchain that you can go to develop your project, and they will help you, get your feet off the ground, which is a pretty cool concept. There are a number of projects that are being built on Peaq that I am going to make videos about. And I do want to highlight 4 of those projects real quickly. And I am trying to get one of their team members on for an interview here in the next couple of weeks. The first one's Silencio. And I've brought this up before in one of our live streams, but it is measuring noise pollution. And noise pollution is a pretty big market. There's the opportunity for a lot of revenue. The cool thing about this is it's free. It's an app you can download on your phone. You can essentially take readings if you check into a location or you're just out and about in public, and you can pre-mine their noise token. Now, that hasn't launched yet, but I do think there's potential here, and it is cool because it's free to download. I know there's some people that aren't huge fans of this project, mainly because there's not really a control. So measuring from one device to another, they're worried about the consistency of that noise pollution data, but I do think there's potential here. PowerPod. I've listened to some different interviews about this project. I think, if you own an EV, you definitely know that the charging infrastructure is nowhere where it needs to be right now, whether that's Europe or the US. They're basically launching a decentralized charging network. Now, they haven't launched a token or anything yet, but it's something that's definitely on my radar. I'm going to dive into this one as well. Roam. This is one that was highlighted at that break-off lunch session. I had not heard of this before. It was founded by some guys that have extensive experience in the telecom industry. Essentially incentivizes people to monetize their cellular data. And talking to some of the investors that were at that session, not individual investors, but that were working for investment arms, I know this is one project that they seem to be really interested in. So definitely one I'm going to keep my eyes on. And then Wingbits. So Wingbits is a decentralized flight tracking network. Again, this one has not yet launched their token, but it is interesting because the flight tracking tools that are out there today, a lot of them are centralized. I think we saw this happen where that system went down. Can't remember, like a year or two ago, and it created complete chaos everywhere. So this is one of them I'm certainly interested in as well. I'm going to keep my eye on. And again, I plan to put a video out on this project as well. So just a number of projects that I think are really interesting moving forward. So overall, after attending these different sessions and sitting out with the founders and talking to different investors, there's a lot of buzz around DePIN right now. And I do think moving forward, there's going to be a ton of promise. The one thing I'm trying to stay conscious of is there are DePIN projects popping up all over the place. And it's really going to be important to sift through which ones are real and which ones aren't. Because yes, a lot of them are likely going to pump in the bull run, but which ones are going to be sustainable and which ones are building something real? I have a process between looking at what the potential revenue is, then going into, what the path to participation is, how much participation you need to move the needle, looking at the team very thoroughly and whether or not they can execute, and then looking at the tokenomics and how that value is distributed amongst participants. So the projects that hit on all of those, I'm going to continue to do my deep dives and bringing awareness to the space. But as always, I appreciate your viewership. Signing off, this is Bradley Meyer with the DePIN Connection.